Let's suppose that instead of showing the total number of movies produced every year, you're interested in exploring the variation of one of these genres. For example, I don't know, you want to see the number of horror films produced every year. I'm going to go to the drop-down menu, select here horror, and then the x-axis is going to be year, and automatically we will get a plot that will show the number of years on the x-axis and the number of horror movies produced every year on the y-axis. I could transform this into a line chart as I did before, just going to the add plot menu and adding the line in between. But before I do that, I would like to discuss how appropriate it is to show the total number of films over here. Just because it is pretty obvious that the number of horror movies will vary according to the total number of movies produced every year, right? The larger the total number of movies produced every year, the larger the number of horror movies it will be produced every year, right? So perhaps what we should do here, rather than displaying the raw number, rather than displaying the total number of horror movies, it would be interesting to compare these number of horror movies to the number of total films, meaning transforming these into a percentage. So what percentage of the total number of films produced every year corresponds to horror movies? As you can see, I am expanding these. When the chart disappears, you can always click on these two arrows down here and it will redraw the plot. Anyway, so in order to do that, there is not a variable here that shows you percentage of horror movies, right? So we will need to calculate a new variable. Now, this is something that could be done in Excel. Excel has great calculation capabilities, but Insight also lets you calculate new variables. So in order to create a new variable in the dataset, you can go to the variables menu and you can click on create new variables, and here you will have this pop-up window that will let you create that. It will let you design the new variable based on some sort of calculation. You can do any kind of arithmetic operation over here. You can do, for example, horror movies minus drama movies, or you can divide one by the other, or you can calculate a percentage, right? So the formula for the percentage change, we're going to write it in a minute, but before we do that, we need to give this new variable a name. So because this variable will appear as another column in the data set. So I'm going to go here and write here horror percentage. Okay, all of it together. You can put a dot, a period, or a dot in between, but I would recommend to write it as a single word whenever it is possible. And now we are going to write the formula. Now the formula for percentage change is this. I'm going to first of all type two parentheses, and then in the middle of the parentheses I'm going to write horror. It needs to be the name of the variable as it is written in the data set, so with an uppercase H, horror. Okay, so that will take the first variable, the variable horror, all the values on that variable, and then divided by, so that's the slash symbol, a total number of films, and that will be total with a capital T, total dot films, because that's the name of the variable. You need to be careful and write the names of the variables as they are written in the original data set, and then multiplied by, so that's going to be the star symbol outside of the parentheses, so put the cursor outside of the parentheses, multiplied by 100. So basically that will divide the number of horror films by the total number of films, and then multiply the results by 100, and the result will be the percentage of the films that are horror movies, right? Now if you click on submit, what will happen is that a new variable called horror percentage will be inserted as the last column of the data set. So let's check that. I'm going to click on that, and then automatically if I move this slider to the right, there you go, horror percentage. So as you can see, if you move forward down here, horror movies represented around 3% of the total number of movies produced every year in 2006. And if you go back in time, that number will change. So we could plot this variable. I'm going to go to the drop down menu over here, and instead of horror, I'm going to plot horror percentage. And as you can see, the variable changes a little, the display changes a little bit, right? Now, it will be appropriate in this case to draw the line so we can see the connections between the dots. So I'm going to go to add to plot, and then I'm going to go to code more variable, this drop down menu, join points by lines, and then click on join points, and automatically we will see the variation of that percentage of horror movies over the total number of movies. But as I said before, this is not how we are going to create time series charts. This is great if you only want to plot one single variable, but not if you want to compare several ones, or if you want to extract other useful information from a time series data set. So let's proceed and see